Three sicarios from the Cartel del Noreste cross through the main entrance of the Laredo flea market. El Güero, 26 years old. Eagle-devouring snake tattoo on his neck. Tight black shirt, dark jeans, cowboy boots with steel toes. He leads the group with studied arrogance. Walking beside him are Shorty and El Gordo, both armed with pistols hidden under loose shirts. The Laredo Flea Market is a traditional Mexican-American marketplace that has operated every weekend for over 50 years. Over 100 vendor stalls spread across a paved parking lot on the east side of town, just 3 miles from the Rio Grande. They sell tacos, gorditas, barbacoa, tequila, western boots, leather belts, roses, and at stall number 47, corner spot near the main restrooms, fresh-made tacos al pastor with homemade salsa verde and pico de gallo. The air smells of diesel exhaust from idling trucks, grilled meat, fresh cilantro, jalapenos, and rain-soaked asphalt from the storm that passed through 2 hours ago. Martin Vega, 47 years old, 5'7", slim build, brown skin weathered by years working under the sun, black hair with gray at the temples, trimmed mustache, calloused hands. He's bent over his propane-powered flat-top griddle, flipping marinated pork for the last batch of tacos of the day. The sizzle of meat on hot metal mixes with the hiss of the gas burner. He uses a metal spatula to keep the meat from burning. His setup is simple. Folding table covered with a blue vinyl cloth, 3 metal pans filled with prepared toppings, diced onions, cilantro, lime wedges, plastic bags, a small digital scale, hand-painted sign that reads, Tacos El Martin, $2.50 each, $12 half dozen. Martin has been selling tacos at this same spot every weekend for 8 years. The neighboring vendors know him as a quiet, hard-working, punctual man who always arrives at 5:30 in the morning to set up his stall before anyone else. He never gets into fights, never talks politics, never brags about money. He lives in a small efficiency apartment in a converted motel on the outskirts of Laredo, where he pays $450 monthly rent. He cooks on a hot plate, sleeps on a mattress on the linoleum floor, showers in a shared bathroom down the hall. His life is a methodical routine that never varies. Monday through Friday he preps meat and ingredients. Saturdays and Sundays he sells tacos. He earns between $600 and $800 weekly depending on the season. He saves almost nothing after paying rent, food, transportation, propane, supplies. What no merchant at the flea market knows. What no neighbor in his apartment complex imagines. What not even the manager who collects his rent suspects is that Martin Vega is not a humble taco vendor. He is Special Agent Michael Patrick Velasquez of the Drug Enforcement Administration with 19 years of service, 12 of them in undercover operations. Born in El Paso, Texas in 1978, son of a Mexican father and American mother, dual citizenship, grew up in San Antonio. Studied criminal justice at the University of Texas at San Antonio. Graduated in 2001, was recruited by the DEA in 2006 at age 28. For 7 years, he worked in the San Antonio field office analyzing methamphetamine routes from across the border. In 2013, he was transferred to the Undercover Operations Unit. His first mission was to infiltrate as an auto mechanic in Reynosa for 6 months to document a shop where the Cartel del Noreste modified vehicles with hidden compartments. The operation resulted in 23 arrests and the seizure of 4 tons of cocaine. In 2016, he worked as a taxi driver in Nuevo Laredo, tracking safe houses. In 2019, he operated as a cell phone store clerk in El Paso, identifying fentanyl sales points. Each mission lasted between 4 and 18 months. Each mission required a new identity, new accent, new life story, new personality. Michael was a consummate actor who could transform into whoever the mission needed. In December 2023, DEA intelligence identified a critical new fentanyl route. Clandestine laboratories in Reynosa were producing fake oxycodone pills mixed with synthetic fentanyl from Chinese chemical precursors. The pills were transported in produce trucks from Reynosa across the border into Laredo. They were temporarily stored in a warehouse near the Laredo Flea Market. Then they were moved toward Houston, where traffickers shipped them in containers to distribution networks across the southern United States. The route had operated undetected for 14 months. It had killed more than 2,000 Americans in Texas alone. The DEA needed an undercover agent in Laredo who could monitor the warehouse without raising suspicion. Michael was selected for his perfect fluency in border Spanish, his ability to mimic regional accents, and his experience in long-duration missions. He spent 3 months training. He learned to prepare tacos al pastor with a master taquero in San Antonio. He learned to make fresh salsas with the right balance of heat and acid. He studied basic border slang. He researched the history of the Laredo flea market. He memorized names of surrounding neighborhoods, local traditions, quinceañera customs. He constructed a detailed legend. Martin Vega, born in Eagle Pass, widower with no children, learned the trade from his uncle, migrated to Laredo seeking better sales. On February 3, 2224, Michael arrived in Laredo as Martin Vega. He rented a humble efficiency. He set up his taco stall in a strategic location with direct view of the warehouse located 130 feet to the northeast. He installed a button-sized camera in his stall's umbrella pole. It recorded continuous video of the warehouse. Each week he reported intelligence to his DEA contact, Supervisory Agent Thomas Garrett, using a satellite radio hidden in a cooler he supposedly used to store meat. Communications were encrypted, transmitted in 3-second bursts to a commercial satellite, impossible to intercept with technology available to the cartels. For 18 months, from February 2024 to August 2025, Michael documented everything. He identified 14 CDN operators working at the warehouse. He photographed license plates of 37 vehicles used to transport drugs. He recorded conversations where sicarios discussed quantities, prices, destinations. He tracked movement schedules, always between Tuesday and Thursday, early morning between 2 and 4 a.m. He calculated approximate monthly volume between 175 and 265 pounds of fentanyl, enough to produce 400,000 fake pills. Street value of $8 million. The intelligence Michael gathered was a treasure trove that the DEA planned to use to dismantle the entire network in a coordinated operation. Tentative date: October 2025. Michael only needed to maintain his cover intact for 8 more weeks. But this Saturday, August 16th, Michael's cover begins to unravel. El Güero and his 2 companions walk through the flea market stalls with predatory attitude. El Güero pulls out a black spiral notebook. He consults a list of names written by hand. He stops at a gordita stand, speaks with a 60-year-old vendor. She looks nervous. She pulls crumpled bills from her apron, counts out $100, hands them over. El Güero pockets the money without saying, "Thank you." He marks something in his notebook, continues walking. He stops at a barbacoa stand, repeats the process, collects $150. Then a tequila booth, $200. Then Western wear, $80. The vendors pay in silence with expressions of fear, resignation, contained humiliation. The Cartel del Noreste has been collecting protection money at the Laredo flea market for 6 months. They started in February 2025 when the regional commander, known as El Tejano, decided to expand extortion operations from border crossings to local markets in Webb County. El Güero is the collector assigned to the flea market. He collects fees every 2 weeks. $100 monthly from small food stands, $200 from medium clothing and merchandise stalls, $400 from large tequila and leather goods vendors. He delivers $18,000 monthly to El Tejano. He keeps $3,000 as commission. He lives in a rented house in North Laredo with his girlfriend and 2 children. He drives a gray 2018 Nissan Sentra with Texas plates. He carries a Beretta 92 pistol at his waist, a knife in his right boot, a burner phone that he changes every week. Michael watches from his taco stall as El Güero approaches. His 19 years of training activate automatically. He breathes deeply 3 times to control adrenaline, relaxes his shoulders, adopts a submissive posture, back slightly hunched, eyes downward, hands busy flipping meat on the griddle with slow movements. El Güero arrives. He stands in front of the stall, looking at Michael with calculated contempt that he practices in front of a mirror every morning to intimidate. "Good morning, boss," Michael says with a soft voice. Perfect South Texas accent that he's practiced for 18 months until it became second nature. "Want a taco? Fresh off the grill on the house." El Güero ignores the offer. He takes out his black notebook, consults the handwritten list. Martin Vega, stall 47, tacos. You owe $300 monthly. First payment due next Saturday, August 23rd. Michael blinks. He sets his spatula on the griddle. He straightens slowly as his knees crack audibly from being bent for hours. Young man, I didn't know about any fee. Nobody here told me anything. I barely make enough to eat. El Güero closes the notebook with a dry snap. He puts it in his back jeans pocket. Well, now you know. This plaza is protected by us. Pay your fee, nobody bothers you, nobody steals your merchandise, nobody burns down your stall. Don't pay, you have big problems. Michael calculates quickly. $300 represents nearly half of a real taco vendor's weekly income. It's an amount that would generate resistance but not absolute desperation. He must act as a humble vendor would act. Negotiate without confronting. Young man, can you give me a chance to pay in 2 parts? $150 this weekend, $150 the next? I don't have that full amount right now. El Güero shakes his head. No payment plans. You have 7 days to get together the full $300. If you don't pay, I come back with my partners, and we take all your merchandise. Understand? Michael nods. He adopts a defeated expression. Yes, boss, I understand. Next Saturday I'll bring the $300. El Güero smiles, satisfied. He turns to leave. But then Michael makes the error that will destroy his cover. The error that will change everything. Without thinking, without filtering, with his mind still operating in English after the satellite report he sent last night to Thomas Garrett, Michael asks in Spanish but with the mental syntax of a native English speaker, Boss, do you take credit cards? It's an innocent question for an American tourist or business owner accustomed to digital payments, but it's a question absolutely out of place for a humble Mexican-American vendor who works exclusively in cash, who probably doesn't even have a bank account, who has never in his life processed a credit card transaction at his taco stand. El Güero stops dead. He turns slowly. He looks at Michael with an expression that changes from contempt to curiosity, from curiosity to suspicion. Credit cards. He repeats the words, as if they were strange objects he just found in his mouth. You handle credit cards, Don Martin? Michael feels ice in his stomach. He immediately recognizes his error. His brain enters damage control mode. He improvises quickly. He responds with a nervous, embarrassed laugh. No, boss. Sorry, I was thinking something stupid. Sometimes American tourists come and ask if I take cards. I thought maybe you also accepted them. But of course I'll pay you in cash. El Güero doesn't respond immediately. His dark eyes study Michael for 5 complete seconds that feel like 5 minutes. Then he takes out his cell phone, opens the Notes app, types something, puts the phone away. He smiles, but the smile doesn't reach his dead eyes. Cash, Don Martin. Only cash. See you next Saturday. He walks away with Shorty and El Gordo. The 3 disappear into the crowd of shoppers filling the flea market. Michael remains motionless for 30 complete seconds. His heart beats 110 times per minute, 40 more than his normal resting rate. He feels cold sweat on his back under his cotton shirt. He knows he just crossed an invisible but critical line. A legitimate taco vendor doesn't ask about credit cards at a flea market extortion. Only someone with exposure to formal business practices would ask that question. Only someone with connections beyond the informal cash economy would think about card payments. Michael finishes his shift with automatic movements. He sells his last tacos to regular customers. He packs his pans, sign, scale, loads everything into a handcart, walks 15 minutes to the city bus stop, boards transport to his neighborhood, arrives at his efficiency apartment at 4:30 in the afternoon. He closes the door with the lock. He checks the window to confirm nobody followed him. He takes out the satellite radio from his meat cooler. He extends the folding antenna. He turns on the equipment. He waits 2 minutes for satellite connection. He presses the transmission button. He speaks in English with a controlled but tense voice. Garrett, this is Velasquez. Code red, cover compromised, threat level undefined but ascending. Request extraction evaluation. The response arrives 8 minutes later. The voice of Thomas Garrett, 52 years old. DEA supervisory agent with 28 years of service, operating from the field office in Houston. Velasquez received. Specify nature of compromise. Michael explains in detail what happened. The CDN extortion, His question about credit cards, the collector's reaction, the note on the cell phone. Garrett listens without interrupting. When Michael finishes, Garrett responds with an analytical tone. Velasquez, we're evaluating the situation. The credit card question is a minor inconsistency. It can be interpreted as confusion from a vendor who occasionally deals with tourists. It's not definitive evidence of infiltration. My recommendation is maintain cover. Continue observation of the warehouse. Coordinated operation is scheduled for October 15th. Only 8 more weeks. You can hold position. Michael breathes deeply. His training tells him that Garrett is right. The credit card question is a minor error, not catastrophic. It can be explained, it can be forgotten. But his instinct, refined by 12 years of undercover operations where the difference between life and death is a matter of correctly reading micro-expressions and voice tones, tells him something is wrong. El Guero's look, the note on the cell phone, the change in his smile. Michael has seen this sequence before in Reynosa, when the mechanic shop started suspecting him before they evacuated his operation. He knows the signs. Something broke today. Something changed. Garrett, my gut says I'm burned. Request extraction within 72 hours. I can exit by road toward San Antonio, cross to Houston. Exfiltration by air from Hobby Airport. Garrett takes 15 seconds to respond. When he does, his tone is firm. Velasquez, I understand your concern, but we have 18 months of intelligence invested in this operation. You identified 14 operators, 37 vehicles. You calculated monthly fentanyl volume. We're 8 weeks away from dismantling a complete network that's killing 200 Americans monthly. We cannot abort because of a question about credit cards. Maintain cover. Minimize contact with sicarios. If the situation escalates, we authorize immediate extraction. But for now, hold position. Michael closes his eyes. He knows Garrett is applying standard undercover operations protocol. You don't abandon a mission for a potential threat, only for a confirmed threat. It's cost-benefit logic. 18 months of work versus 8 more weeks of risk. The math favors continuing. But Michael has survived 12 years in this job because he learned when to ignore logic and follow instinct. And his instinct is screaming code red. Understood, Garrett. Maintaining position but requesting contingency protocol activated. Emergency extraction ready to execute with 12 hours notice. Garrett confirms. Protocol activated. Extraction team in San Antonio on alert status. At first sign of immediate threat, we execute. Stay alive, Velasquez. The transmission ends. Michael stores the satellite radio. He hides the cooler under his mattress. He sits on the linoleum floor, back against the plaster wall. Knees bent, arms resting on knees. He looks at the water-stained ceiling. He thinks about his mother in San Antonio. He thinks about his sister in Austin. He thinks about nephews he hasn't seen in 18 months. He thinks about the promise he made himself when he accepted this mission. I finish this and I request transfer to the analysis office. No more undercover operations, no more false identities, no more daily lies. But first, he has to survive 8 more weeks. That night he sleeps 3 hours interrupted by nightmares where El Guero chases him through the aisles of the flea market with a machete in hand, shouting, "Who are you really?" What Michael doesn't know, what he can't know because the information is compartmentalized at classification levels that field agents don't have access to, is that El Guero is not just a CDN extortion collector. He's a double agent working simultaneously for the Gulf Cartel. His real name is Julio Cesar Mendoza, 26 years old, born in Nuevo Laredo. He entered the CDN 18 months ago with a specific mission assigned by Gulf Cartel commanders who now control factions in Tamaulipas. His objective? Infiltrate CDN operations in Laredo, identify trafficking routes, report commanders' movements, sabotage shipments when possible. Julio has 2 cell phones, one with a chip that changes weekly to communicate with El Tejano and other CDN members, another with a permanent chip to report to his Gulf Cartel contact, a commander known as El Comandante. Every weekend after collecting fees at the flea market, Julio sends an encrypted message to El Comandante with details of CDN operations, how much money they collected, who are the new operators, what vehicles they use, what routes they follow. This Saturday, August 16th, after his encounter with Michael, Julio returns to his house in North Laredo. He locks himself in the bathroom. He takes out his secret phone. He sends a message to El Comandante. Taco vendor at stall 47 asked about credit cards. Behavior inconsistent with local vendor. Possible infiltrator. Investigate. The response arrives 10 minutes later. Investigate discreetly. If you confirm infiltration, report. Don't act without authorization. We want to know who he works for before eliminating him. During the following 72 hours from Monday the 19th to Wednesday the 21st of August, Julio investigates Martin Vega. He asks neighboring flea market vendors. Doña Carmen, gordita vendor from the adjacent stall, says that Don Martin is quiet, hard-working, punctual. He always arrives at 5:30 a.m., never gets into trouble. Don Roberto, tequila vendor, says that Don Martin buys his meat from suppliers in San Antonio. Always pays cash, never uses a bank card. Doña Lucia, flower vendor, mentions that Don Martin lives on the east side, but never talks about family. Julio contacts sources in the Webb County administration. He pays $100 to an administrative employee to review vendor permit records. He finds a permit in the name of Martin Vega, registered in February 2024. Declared address, Efficiency Apartment, at 2847 San Bernardo Avenue. Julio drives to that address on a Tuesday afternoon. He observes from a distance. It's a converted single-story motel painted light blue, divided into 12 efficiency units that the owner rents to migrant workers. Julio speaks with Mrs. Hernandez, the owner, 68 years old. He tells her he's a friend of Don Martin, that he wants to surprise him with a visit. Mrs. Hernandez confirms that Martin rents a unit since February 2024, always pays on time, never causes problems, never receives visitors, lives alone. Julio checks cell phone provider records. He pays $200 to a corrupt employee at T-Mobile to trace a phone number registered to the name Martin Vega. He discovers the chip was activated in February 2024 at a store in Laredo. All calls are local within Texas. But reviewing deeper metadata, the employee notes something strange. The chip has 4G LTE broadband technology, unusual for a humble vendor who would normally use a cheaper basic 3G chip. And the data consumption pattern is irregular. Days with zero use followed by brief spikes of high transmission, as if someone was sending large files occasionally. Julio sends this information to El Comandante. El Comandante responds, "Suspicious, but not conclusive. We need physical evidence. Photograph his vehicle if he has one. Check his movements outside the flea market." Julio dedicates Wednesday, August 21st, to surveillance. He follows Martin when he finishes his shift at the flea market. He watches him board the city bus. He follows on his motorcycle, maintaining safe distance. He sees Martin get off on San Bernardo Avenue, walk to his apartment, enter, close the door. Julio waits 3 hours hidden behind a dumpster at the corner. Martin doesn't come out. But then at 7:45 p.m., Julio sees something that confirms his suspicions. A gray Chevrolet Suburban, recent model, tinted windows, no visible plates, parks in front of Martin's unit. 2 men get out. Both wear casual clothes, but their postures, the way they walk, the way they scan the perimeter before moving, betray military or law enforcement training. They knock on Martin's door. Martin opens. The 3 speak for 5 minutes in low voices. Martin hands them something, looks like a USB or small device. The 2 men return to the Suburban. They drive away. Julio takes photographs with his cell phone. He zooms the image of the rear plates of the Suburban. They're deliberately covered with mud, but he manages to distinguish 3 letters: USA, American plates. Julio feels adrenaline explode in his system. He just confirmed that the humble taco vendor has contact with people operating vehicles with United States government plates. There are only 3 possible explanations. 1. Martin is a drug trafficker with connections to American distributors. 2. Martin is an informant for the Mexican government. 3. Martin is an undercover agent from an American agency, probably DEA. Julio sends the photographs to El Comandante with an urgent message. Taco vendor has contact with vehicle USA plates. 2 men with tactical training. Device exchange, confirm infiltration, instructions. El Comandante's response arrives in 2 minutes. Don't touch him yet. Report to CDN that you have a suspect. Let them interrogate him. If they confirm he's DEA, we have valuable information we can use to negotiate with authorities. Keep distance. Observe. Thursday, August 22nd, 8:30 a.m. Julio meets with El Tejano in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Laredo. The warehouse smells of mildew, mold, bat droppings. El Tejano, 43 years old, ex-soldier from the Mexican army who deserted in 2015 to join the CDN, is sitting in a metal folding chair. Denim shirt, black jeans, military boots, Glock 17 pistol at his waist. He listens to Julio's report without interrupting. When Julio finishes explaining, El Tejano leans back in his chair, interlaces his fingers over his abdomen, looks at the ceiling with a thoughtful expression. If the taco guy is DEA, we have a big problem. It means he's been watching us for months. It means he probably knows about our warehouse. It means he has information that can destroy the complete operation. Julio nods. What do we do, boss? Do we grab him? El Tejano shakes his head. Grabbing him would be a mistake. If he disappears, DEA knows we discovered him. They send replacements. We waste time identifying new infiltrators. No, we're going to do something better. We're going to use him. El Tejano explains his plan. They're going to invite the taco vendor to a supposedly cordial meeting. They'll tell him that good vendors like him deserve special treatment. They'll offer him a fee reduction in exchange for information about other vendors. During the meeting, they're going to observe him. They're going to ask questions designed to detect inconsistencies. If they confirm he's an infiltrator, they're going to force him to confess who he works for, what information he has, who he reports to. Then, depending on his answers, they'll decide whether to eliminate him or use him as bargaining currency. Julio returns to the flea market on Saturday, August 23rd. He looks for Martin. He finds him at his stall preparing tacos. Julio approaches with a friendly smile. Don Martin, good morning. I came to collect the $300, but my boss asked me to invite you to a meeting. He says hard-working vendors like you deserve special treatment. Tomorrow, Friday at 8 p.m., come to the warehouse on McPherson Road. Bring the $300. My boss wants to meet you personally and talk about benefits. Michael feels mental alarms activating simultaneously. Invitation to a nighttime meeting at a location controlled by the cartel. All the signs of a trap. But rejecting the invitation would be an implicit admission that he has something to hide. A legitimate vendor would accept an opportunity to negotiate a fee reduction. Michael has no choice. He responds with a calm voice. Sure, young man. I'll be there. What time did you say? 8 at night. Julio smiles. Perfect. See you tomorrow, Don Martin. That night, Michael transmits an urgent message to Garrett. Received invitation to meeting with CDN commander. Friday, August 23rd, 8 p.m. warehouse. Assessment, confirmed trap, request immediate extraction. Garrett responds after 20 minutes. Velazquez, convening emergency meeting with operations directors. I'll respond in 3 hours. Michael waits, sitting on the floor of his apartment. He checks his Glock 26 pistol, verifies the magazine, 10 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. He checks his coin-sized digital recorder that he carries in his belt. He checks his folding knife in his right ankle. He thinks about scenarios. Best case, the meeting is legitimate. El Tejano really wants to meet vendors in his plaza. Michael improvises answers, maintains cover, comes out unharmed. Probability 10%. Probable case, the meeting is an interrogation. They ask questions designed to detect inconsistencies. Michael must answer perfectly to not confirm suspicions. Probability 40%. Worst case, they know who he is. The meeting is a trap to capture him. They torture him until he confesses. They execute him. DEA finds his body dumped on a highway with a cartel message. Probability 50%. Garrett's response arrives. Velazquez. Directors evaluated the situation. Decision. Extraction denied. Reasons. 1. Abandoning mission 8 weeks before coordinated operation destroys 18 months of intelligence. 2. Fleeing confirms you're an infiltrator, puts future undercover DEA operations in Mexico at risk. 3. Risk analysis indicates 60% probability the meeting is standard cartel procedure to meet plaza vendors. Instructions. Attend meeting. Maintain cover. Record everything. If situation escalates to immediate physical threat, activate emergency signal. Extraction team will be in position 15 minutes from your location. Michael reads the message 3 times. He feels a mixture of rage and resignation. Rage because directors in air-conditioned offices in Washington are ordering a field agent to walk directly into a potential trap. Resignation because he knows this is how the business works. The mission is bigger than the individual. 18 months of intelligence is worth more than one agent's life. It's the cold calculation he accepted when he signed his contract with the DEA. He responds, "Understood. Attending meeting." Emergency signal activated is 3 quick pulses on subcutaneous transmitter implanted in left arm. Extraction team authorized weaponry. Garrett confirms. Full weaponry authorized. UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter at Lackland Air Force Base. Flight time to Laredo, 14 minutes. Tactical team of 8 agents ready for armed intervention if necessary. Velasquez, you're one of our best. I trust your ability to get out of this with intelligence intact and cover preserved. Michael turns off the satellite radio. He lies on his mattress. He doesn't sleep. He spends the entire night reviewing his legend. Martin Vega, born Eagle Pass, widower. Learned trade from uncle. Migrated to Laredo February 2024. Sells tacos, earns $700 weekly. Lives alone. No close family. No suspicious contacts. Simple story, clean, verifiable. Friday, August 23rd. Michael performs his normal routine. He sets up his stall at the flea market, though it's not Saturday or Sunday. Some vendors operate Fridays too, mainly prepared food for local workers. Michael grills meat, sells small portions. He observes the warehouse. He sees normal movement. 2 vans enter at 11 a.m., load boxes leave at 2 p.m. Michael records everything with his hidden camera. At 6 p.m., he dismantles his stall. He returns to his efficiency apartment. He showers with cold water. He shaves. He dresses in clean clothes. White cotton shirt, blue jeans, leather huaraches. He stores his Glock 26 in his left ankle holster covered by his pants. He activates his digital recorder on his belt. He activates his subcutaneous transmitter with 3 quick taps on the skin over the implanted device. The signal confirms connection with the satellite. The extraction team can track his location in real time. At 7:45 p.m., he walks toward the warehouse, distance 2,600 feet. It takes him 12 minutes. He arrives at 7:57 p.m. The warehouse is a corrugated metal building, 4,000 square feet, high ceiling of 20 feet, no windows, 1 main door of corrugated steel, another back door blocked with a padlock. Exterior lighting, 2 posts with 100-watt bulbs projecting yellowish light over a dirt parking lot. 4 trucks parked. 2 Nissan Frontiers, 1 Toyota Tacoma, 1 Chevy Silverado, all with tinted windows. 2 armed men with AR-15 rifles flank the main door. Michael recognizes them from months of surveillance. They're Shorty and El Gordo, the same ones who accompanied El Güero to the flea market. Shorty, 28 years old, black long-sleeve shirt, jeans, baseball cap, face marked by a scar crossing his left cheek from ear to corner of lips. El Gordo, 24 years old, gray t-shirt with Cowboys logo, faded denim pants, cowboy boots, Virgin of Guadalupe tattoo on right forearm. Michael approaches with slow steps, submissive posture. "Good evening. I'm here for a meeting with the boss. El Güero sent for me." Shorty nods. "Come in, Don Martin. They're expecting you." He opens the metal door that squeaks on rusty hinges. Michael enters. The interior of the warehouse smells of fermented grain, damp earth, motor oil. The temperature is 10 degrees higher than outside due to lack of ventilation. Lighting comes from 6 fluorescent tubes hanging from steel beams crossing the ceiling. The flickering light projects moving shadows on the metal walls. In the northwest corner, stacked up to 13 feet high, there are grain sacks of 110 pounds each. Burlap, brown color with stenciled letters, white corn, Texas. Michael knows that among those sacks there are other identical sacks filled with pressed fentanyl pills. In the center of the warehouse, illuminated by a portable spotlight connected to a gasoline generator, there's a metal folding chair where El Tejano is sitting. Martin sees him for the first time in person after 18 months of studying him through photographs and video. El Tejano, 43 years old, 5'10", athletic build of an ex-military who maintains an exercise routine, military-style buzz cut, trimmed beard, Denim shirt unbuttoned, revealing a tight black t-shirt. Dark jeans with leather belt where hangs a Glock 17 pistol. Black military boots. His eyes are gray-green, unusual in this region where dark eyes predominate. Those eyes study Michael with analytical intensity. Around El Tejano there are 10 other men, all armed. 3 with AR-15 rifles. 4 with pistols visible at their waists. 3 with hidden weapons but obvious bulges under shirts. Michael counts mentally. 13 men including the 2 at the door. He has 11 bullets. Unfavorable math. If this turns into a shootout, he doesn't come out alive. His only option is to talk correctly. Don Martin Vega, says El Tejano without standing up, without extending his hand to greet. His voice is deep, modulated, without marked regional accent. The voice of an educated man who read books, who took courses, who understands strategy. Thank you for coming, sit down. He points to another folding chair placed in front of him at 6 feet distance. Michael walks slowly. He sits. He keeps his hands visible on his thighs. Relaxed posture, but alert. Good evening, boss. El Güero told me you wanted to meet me. El Tejano smiles. A smile that's not threatening but not friendly either. The smile of a chess player evaluating an opponent's piece before deciding a move. Yes, Don Martin. I like to meet the vendors in my plaza, especially the new ones. How long have you been in Laredo? Michael responds without hesitation. Since last February, 1.5 years. El Tejano nods. And before Laredo? Michael maintains his rehearsed story. I lived in Eagle Pass. I sold tacos there too, but there's a lot of competition. A friend told me that in Laredo there was good business on weekends. I came here. Family? Asks El Tejano. I was married, Michael responds. My wife died 5 years ago. Cancer. We didn't have children. My parents passed away. I have a brother in San Antonio, but we hardly talk. El Tejano takes out his cell phone from his pocket. He consults notes. How did you learn to make tacos? My uncle taught me when I was a kid. He sold them at a market in Eagle Pass. When he died, I continued the business. El Tejano looks up from his phone. Your uncle's name was... Michael improvises a common name. Jose Vega. He died in 2008. El Tejano types something on his phone. Where do you buy your meat? From suppliers in San Antonio. There's a guy named Carlos. He delivers to me every Saturday. He charges me $3.50 a pound. I prep it, grill it, sell it for $2.50 a taco. El Tejano nods. The math of a humble vendor. Consistent story. But then he asks a question Michael didn't expect. Don Martin, have you ever traveled to Mexico? Michael feels a spike of adrenaline. Dangerous question. If he says yes, he has to explain how, when, why. If he says no, and they have information that contradicts that, he's exposed. He decides on partial truth. When I was young, I crossed to Nuevo Laredo to work. I was there 3 years. I came back in 2004. I haven't been back since. El Tejano smiles. Do you speak English? Michael shakes his head. Only basic words. Yes, no, water, bathroom. Things I learned. But I don't really speak English. El Tejano puts away his phone. He leans back in his chair, interlaces his fingers over his abdomen, looks at Michael in silence for 10 complete seconds. Don Martin, he says finally, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a report that says you asked about credit cards when my collector explained your fee. Is that true? Michael nods. Yes, boss. It was stupid of me. Sometimes American tourists come to the flea market. They ask if I take cards. I thought maybe you also accepted them. But I already understood you don't. I'll pay you in cash. El Tejano leans forward, rests his elbows on his knees. His face is now closer to Michael's. How often do tourists buy from you? Michael calculates. Not much, maybe 1 or 2 a month, but when they come they pay well. Sometimes they give me $10 for tacos that cost $5. It's good profit. El Tejano nods slowly. And these tourists, where are they from? Michael shrugs. I don't know. Americans. They speak English, take photos, ask what's in the tacos, I explain, I give them samples. If they like it, they buy. El Tejano takes out a printed photograph from his back pocket. He unfolds it. He shows it to Michael. This is a photograph taken 2 days ago. Wednesday, August 21st, 7:45 p.m. outside your apartment. Recognize that vehicle? The photograph shows a gray Chevrolet Suburban parked in front of Michael's unit. Door open. Two men standing next to Martin. Blurry image, but clear enough to identify the scene. Michael feels ice in his stomach. His cover just collapsed. But his 19 years of training activate. Never admit. Never confirm. Always improvise an alternative explanation. He looks at the photograph with a confused expression. Yes, boss, that's my place. Those men came to ask for directions. They were looking for some ranch around here. I told them I didn't know it. They left. I don't know who they were. El Tejano folds the photograph slowly. He puts it away. His expression doesn't change. Don Martin. That truck has American government plates. My men identified them. Do you know people from the U.S. government here in Laredo? Michael shakes his head emphatically. No, boss, I don't know anyone from there. Like I told you, I came back from Mexico 20 years ago. I don't have American contacts. El Tejano stands up. He walks around Michael's chair with slow, deliberate steps. Don Martin, I'm going to explain something to you. In my business, distrust keeps me alive. When I see a new vendor who asks about credit cards, who receives visits from vehicles with government plates, who uses a cell phone with 4G technology, when a humble vendor would use a basic phone, I start asking questions. Michael feels cold sweat on his back. His right hand moves imperceptibly toward his left ankle where his Glock is, but he knows he can't reach it without the 13 armed men filling him with bullets. He keeps his voice calm. Boss, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a taco vendor. Honest work, I pay my fee, I don't have problems with anyone. El Tejano stops behind Michael. He puts his hand on Michael's left shoulder with pressure that's not friendly. Don Martin, I'm going to give you a chance to tell the truth. Who do you work for? Border Patrol? FBI? DEA? If you tell me the truth now, maybe we can negotiate. If you lie, you're going to have very serious problems. Michael feels his heartbeat accelerate to 140 beats per minute. His options are reduced to 3. 1. Continue denying. Hold the humble vendor story until they torture or kill him. 2. Confess. Admit he's a DEA agent. Try to negotiate his freedom in exchange for information. 3. Activate the emergency signal. Press the subcutaneous transmitter 3 times. Bring the helicopter with tactical team. Provoke a shootout that will probably end with him dead, but might save 18 months of intelligence if the team manages to recover his body with the digital recorder intact. But then something happens that Michael didn't anticipate. The warehouse lights go out. Total, absolute darkness. The gasoline generator shuts off with the sound of a dying motor. Silence for 2 seconds. Then 3 dull explosions. Boom, boom, boom. Flashbang grenades detonating simultaneously in 3 corners of the warehouse. Brilliant white flash that blinds retinas. Sound wave of 170 decibels that perforates eardrums. Michael throws himself to the ground by instinct. He rolls left. He pulls his Glock from his ankle holster. He adopts combat position. Right knee on the ground, left knee raised. Pistol in firing position with both hands. But he doesn't shoot because he can't identify targets in the darkness. He hears shouts in Spanish. We're being ambushed. Turn on the lights. Find the taco guy. Then he hears something different. Voices in English shouting tactical orders. DEA, on the ground. Drop your weapons. Federal agents. Tactical flashlight beams. High-intensity LEDs. Sweeping the interior of the warehouse. Michael sees silhouettes of men with complete tactical gear. Ballistic helmets. Level full body armor. M4 rifles with holographic sights. 8 agents entering through the demolished main door. 4 more entering through the back door they blew with explosive charge. Gunfire erupts. CDN sicarios shoot toward the tactical figures. DEA agents respond with controlled 3-round bursts. Deafening sound of automatic rifles in enclosed space. Smell of burned gunpowder. Screams. Bullet impacts against metal sheeting generating orange sparks. Michael crawls toward the pile of grain sacks. He seeks cover. He hears bullets whistling over his head. One bullet impacts a sack 12 inches from his face. Corn explodes in a white cloud. Duration of the shootout, 47 seconds. When it ends, 4 sicarios are dead on the floor. 3 are wounded, screaming in pain. 6 are surrendered, face down with hands on their necks. El Tejano is handcuffed, an agent's knee pressing his back, shouting obscenities. Michael is alive, uninjured, confused. A tactical agent approaches. He removes his helmet. Michael recognizes the face. It's Thomas Garrett, his supervisor. "Velasquez, are you hurt?" Michael shakes his head. "I'm fine. What the fuck happened? How did you get here?" Garrett helps him stand. "We tracked your recorder. We heard the interrogation. We assessed the threat as imminent. We executed emergency extraction. Helicopter landed half a mile away. Team arrived on foot. 8 minutes from when you activated the signal to when we breached." Michael looks around. The grain sacks. The evidence from 18 months. "Did you secure the warehouse?" Garrett nods. "Everything secured. We found 183 pounds of pressed fentanyl hidden among grain sacks. We arrested 10 operators, including El Tejano. This operation is a complete success." But then Garrett lowers his voice. "There's a problem. We executed an operation on U.S. soil without proper coordination with local law enforcement. Technically, we violated jurisdictional protocols. This is going to cause a bureaucratic shitstorm." Michael feels the weight of that information. "And me?" Garrett responds with a professional tone. "We exfiltrate you immediately. Helicopter takes you to San Antonio. Military flight to Washington. Debriefing at headquarters. You'll probably have to testify before Congress about unauthorized DEA tactical operations on domestic soil." That night, Michael is evacuated in a UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter. He flies over the Texas plains under a starless, moonless sky. He looks at lights from scattered towns below. He thinks about 18 months of lies. 18 months being Martin Vega. 18 months selling tacos while tracking tons of drugs that killed thousands of Americans. He thinks about Mrs. Hernandez, who rented him his apartment. He thinks about Doña Carmen, who bought tacos from him every weekend. He thinks about Don Roberto, who sold him tequila with a friendly smile. None of them will ever know that Don Martin, the quiet taco vendor, was a federal agent spying in their community. 72 hours later, the scandal explodes in regional media. Webb County Sheriff's Office issues an official statement condemning unauthorized DEA tactical operation in Laredo, demands formal explanations, threatens to file complaints with the Justice Department. The local congressman declares in a press conference, "We will not allow federal forces to operate in our jurisdiction without coordination with local authorities. This is an unacceptable violation of established protocols." In Washington, the DEA director appears before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He explains that the operation was executed under emergency circumstances to rescue an endangered agent. He argues the agent was in imminent danger. He justifies the rescue as a humanitarian action. But senators from both parties criticize the lack of coordination with local law enforcement. They demand reviews of domestic undercover operations procedures. Michael spends 6 weeks at DEA facilities in Virginia. Daily debriefing sessions where he explains every detail of his 18 months in Laredo. He delivers 247 hours of video recordings, 1,043 photographs, 89 written reports. Complete identification of the CDN fentanyl network in South Texas. His intelligence results in 47 additional arrests executed by federal authorities in a coordinated operation in October 2025. But there's a final twist that Michael didn't anticipate. During interrogation of El Tejano in federal prison in Beaumont, Texas, the captured commander reveals surprising information. El Güero, the collector who identified Michael, wasn't just a CDN sicario. He was a double agent infiltrated by the Gulf Cartel. His real name, Julio Cesar Mendoza. His mission, sabotage CDN operations in Laredo. Julio had identified Michael as an infiltrator and reported to his superiors in the Gulf Cartel. But instead of exposing Michael directly, the Gulf Cartel decided to use the situation to destabilize the CDN. They allowed the CDN to capture the DEA agent, knowing that the American rescue would destroy the rival cartel's operations in Laredo. It was three-dimensional chess strategy. DEA thought they were infiltrating the CDN. CDN thought they were capturing a DEA infiltrator. But the Gulf Cartel was manipulating both to eliminate competition. Michael reads the classified report explaining this revelation. He feels a mixture of awe and humility. For 18 months he believed he controlled the operation. He believed he was the hunter infiltrating prey. But in reality, he was a piece in a larger game where multiple players used him for their own objectives. DEA used his intelligence for arrests. CDN tried to use him to identify infiltration. Gulf Cartel used him as a weapon against a rival. December 2025. Michael receives official notification. After psychological evaluation and meetings with operations directors, the DEA decides to transfer him permanently to the Analysis Division in San Antonio. No more undercover missions. No more false identities. He'll spend the rest of his career analyzing intelligence from a safe, air-conditioned desk. Some agents would consider this a demotion. Michael considers it a blessing. His last day at Virginia headquarters, Thomas Garrett invites him to dinner at an Italian restaurant near Quantico. They order pasta, drink red wine, talk about past operations. Garrett raises his glass. To 19 years of exceptional service. To surviving Reynosa, Nuevo Laredo, El Paso, and Laredo. To being one of the best undercover agents this agency has had. Michael raises his glass. He toasts. He drinks. Then he says something he's been thinking about for weeks. Garrett, was it worth it? 18 months lying daily, selling tacos, pretending to be someone I'm not. Did we really save lives, or did we just move pieces on an infinite board where there will always be another cartel? Another route? Another drug? Garrett lowers his glass. He looks at Michael with a serious expression. Velasquez, we arrested 57 operators. We seized 183 pounds of fentanyl. We dismantled a route that was killing 200 Americans monthly. In 6 months, we potentially saved 1,200 lives. It was worth it. For those 1,200 families who won't receive a call telling them their son died of an overdose, yes, it was worth it. Michael nods. He knows Garrett is right from an institutional perspective, but he also knows a deeper truth. As long as there's demand for drugs in America, there will be supply from Mexico. As long as there's supply, there will be cartels. As long as there are cartels, there will be violence. Arresting 57 operators is a tactical victory, but it's not a strategic victory. The CDN will recruit 57 new sicarios. They'll open a new route. They'll find a new Chinese chemist who sells precursors. The game continues. January 2026. Michael returns to San Antonio. He rents a small apartment in Stone Oak, view of the hill country. He starts work in the Analysis Division. He arrives at 8 a.m., leaves at 5 p.m. Normal routine he hasn't had in 12 years. On weekends, he visits his mother. Sunday dinner with family. His nephews ask what he did during the 18 months he was gone. Michael smiles. He says he was working on a classified project. He can't give details. One afternoon in March, walking through the Pearl Farmers Market, Michael stops in front of a stall selling tacos al pastor. The vendor is a Mexican man in his 50s. He asks if Michael wants to try one. Michael takes a taco. He observes it. He remembers his propane griddle. He remembers the smell of grilled meat. He remembers the Laredo flea market. He remembers 18 months being Martin Vega. He bites into the taco. Flavor of pork, pineapple, cilantro, salsa verde. It tastes exactly like the ones he prepared every weekend. He swallows. He pays for 3 more. He walks toward his car, thinking about the irony. The vendor probably crossed the border seeking a better life. He crossed the border with a false identity, chasing criminals. Both are immigrants in foreign lands. Both sell versions of truth. He sells real tacos with a real story. Michael sold real tacos with a false story. In Laredo, life continues. The flea market operates every weekend. Stall 47, where Michael sold tacos, is occupied now by a new vendor. A man in his 60s who really was born in Eagle Pass, who really learned the trade from his uncle, who really lives on the east side. Neighboring vendors know him, trust him. He doesn't ask about credit cards. He doesn't receive visits from vehicles with government plates. He is who he says he is. Doña Carmen, the gordita vendor, sometimes mentions Don Martin, the quiet taco guy who disappeared in August. She says one Saturday he was there and the next Saturday he never returned. Nobody knows what happened. Some say he went back to Eagle Pass. Others say he migrated north. Nobody imagines the truth. Nobody suspects Don Martin was a federal agent. The story of his existence fades like smoke after a fire. The warehouse on McPherson Road is closed. Webb County sealed it after the operation. doors welded shut. Official signs warning, property seized for federal crimes. The 183 pounds of fentanyl were destroyed in supervised incineration by federal authorities. El Tejano is serving a 40-year sentence in federal maximum security prison. His 10 captured operators received sentences between 15 and 30 years. But the fentanyl route didn't disappear. The CDN simply moved it. Now they operate from Eagle Pass, different city, different warehouse, same drug, same destination. Probably the DEA already has a new undercover agent infiltrated there. Probably selling something different. Maybe barbacoa, maybe Western boots, maybe flowers. Being someone he's not. Gathering intelligence. Waiting for extraction. El Güero, whose real name was Julio Cesar Mendoza, disappeared. He wasn't arrested in the operation because he wasn't at the warehouse that night. After Michael's rescue, Julio understood his cover was also compromised. He fled from Laredo. Unconfirmed reports indicate he returned to Nuevo Laredo. Other reports say he was executed by the CDN after they discovered he was a rival cartel infiltrator. The truth remains uncertain. In the cartel wars, double agents who play both sides rarely have happy endings. If this story made you think about the human cost of the war on drugs, if you understood that behind every operation there are agents risking their lives daily, if you appreciated the moral complexity of infiltrations where the line between good and evil blurs, help us share this story. Subscribe to the channel to continue learning about narratives that explore the reality of drug trafficking from angles that traditional media don't cover. Leave your like and tell us in the comments. Do you know someone who has worked in undercover operations? Do you think these missions really make a difference, or are they lost battles in an endless war? Your perspective matters. See you in the next one. And remember, between tacos and bullets, between false identities and hidden truths, there are always real people sacrificing everything for a mission that never ends.